On this trip, I'm spending a day on this Islamorada party boat out of the Keys, Florida, and I want to show you how to get the most out of your fishing day. It's a great boat, really is. If you've been down to the Keys, I'm sure you've driven by Bud and Mary's and you've seen the sign, all day fishing, $110. Sounds too good to be true, but it isn't. Hey, you got a great boat, there's plenty of room. First point is bring a small cooler, bring some food, lots of drinks, and your own bait. Your own bait is a recommendation. Once on board, you'll take an assigned seat and you will be given a fishing pole if you didn't bring one. They'll also give you a bucket with some pre-cut bait, some shrimp, ballyhoo, and squid. And it's pretty good. But my biggest recommendation is bring your own pole and your own gear. However, make sure you bring mono only. They do not allow braid on the boat. If you use one of theirs, they'll give you some instruction on how to use it. So now let's go ahead and take a look in here. There's separate men's and women's restrooms with fully functional toilets. Yep, that's right, flush toilets. There's a small galley area. You can come in here, sit down, get out of the sun if you want to, or just rest if you're not feeling well. Back at the back side of the boat, they will have the boat's provided bait. My recommendation is once your bait starts getting a little warm and hot, which will probably be about an hour and a half, 2 hours in, go back and cut your own bait. All right, let's go fishing. If you're using their traditional reel right there, it may take some getting used to if you're not used to it. Biggest thing is make sure you control how fast it goes down by keeping your thumb on it. Otherwise, you're going to be spending a whole lot of time trying to work out birds' nests rather than fishing. Once you get to the bottom, stop it and bring it up 4 to 6 cranks. Get it out of the rocks. And then wait for a fish to bite.
On.
All right, I'm on. Let's see what we've got. Yep, that's a doctor fish. Got to be careful with those things. Some of the fish down there will get you. A doctor fish is like a surgeon fish in that it has some very sharp, I guess they're fins on the back by the tail. Just be careful. Bring lots of rub-on sunscreen. It is going to get hot down there. And relax. They'll divide the boat up into groups and call your group back there, and at one of the stops, while everybody else is doing their own thing, you're going to get a chance to do some freelining for snapper. If you were on a different boat or your own boat, they'd put a chum bag out, then about 30 minutes later you'd start freelining. Here they don't have time for that, so chum bag goes out, you start freelining soon. Depending upon the current and the drift, you're going to do like I did. I drifted right back to the front of the boat and got snagged up on the line of the guy next to me. So anyway, I didn't get any. It wasn't really that time of year. So let's get back to my spot and do some more fishing. Even though I used the pole provided because the rod I had with me on this trip only had braid, I couldn't bring it. I still had a good time. But if you're not used to fishing like the folks to my left weren't, they didn't catch a thing. So just be careful. All right, here's another fish. That's a small grunt. Too small for anything that I want to keep or deal with, so I'm going to let him off the hook, get him back into the water as quickly as I can.
Yep, another grunt.
It doesn't matter.
Another small grunt, so he's going to go back too. Somewhere in here I did catch an undersized mangrove snapper as well. All right, got another fish on. The first spot or two I wasn't catching many fish, but I could really give credit to the boat because what they were doing, they were moving every 20 minutes or so, every 30 minutes, especially if nothing was happening. So we went to about 6 or 7 different spots on this trip, and I really admire that they did that. They had no problem moving. All right, so what do we have here? Yep, it's another one.
Well, if I had a bigger hook, I might.
Now, I was throwing these back. Later on, I learned that there were some families on board who were catching and keeping everything that was legal because they were using this trip to catch their groceries for the week. So you may want to ask before you start throwing those small grunts back.
Yep.
All right, finally got a keeper. That's a 12-inch Mangrove Snapper. I really didn't start having much success until the third or fourth stop when we started hitting the deep areas. So we're about 150, 175 feet here, and that's when the action really started for me.
No, I think that's.
That is dinner.
Is that a lane?
No, sir.
What is it?
It's a yellow eye or silk snapper.
Oh,
All
nice.
right, that's a silk snapper. They told me that was the best tasting snapper down there, and when my wife and I cooked it up, they were proven right. That is even better than a mangrove snapper.
Oh,
Now you may be wondering, how do they keep the fish apart? Well, each person is assigned a unique mark that will go on your fish. In my case, it was an X on the throat. Some may have a cut nose, some may have one slash on the forehead, 2 slashes. But at the end of the day, they know exactly who caught what, and the crew did a really good job staying on top of everything. All right, there's my next fish. That's actually a good-sized porgy. That's my first porgy, so I really didn't know what it was, but that guy was about 15 inches long or so. Yep, and he tasted good too. And sometimes it's just so hot, you just relax. But you got to watch for that and make sure you're pulling it up when the time comes. All right, now this is a much smaller porgy, but I kept him. And I kept him because I noticed that a lot of the fish that were being thrown back from those deep drops, they were dying. They were just floating on the surface. So
it's not big enough.
I decided that I'm going to keep it. Here was an undersized mutt snapper. 18 inches is the minimum there. These guys were pulling up about 14 inches, and there was a whole lot of them like that guy on the water there. They just died. They were not getting back down fast enough. Now, expect lots of tangled lines. It's a party boat. So that person on the left reeled that in, but it actually belonged to the person 3 people down on my right. And here we go. I'm hooked up, and I'm moving to the left to try to get untangled. And while I'm doing that and pulling this fish up, it's swimming to the right, and the water is drifting and the people down there lying into mine. So it was just a complete mess. So I'm heading back to where I was. And even at that case, this fish is being pulled up by the guy about 3 or 4 down from me. Just expect that's the way it is on a party boat. Don't get frustrated. Don't get excited. You're going to reel up other people's lines. They're going to reel up yours. It's just the nature of a party boat and fishing shoulder to shoulder. But I tell you what, when it comes to spending $110 versus $1,200, $1,400 for a private charter, this was a heck of a deal. And it would have been even better if I had had my own pole, gear, and some of my own fresh bait.
Is that a lane?
Here's an undersized Vermilion Snapper.
Oh, okay.
Obviously can't keep it. Nobody can keep it, so it's going to go back into the water. All right, that was it. Now we're going to head back in. That was a good 5 solid hours of fishing. Like I said, 6 or 7 stops. And I feel like I did pretty good there compared to a lot of private fishing charters I've been on. For the price, pound for $1, I did a heck of a lot better on this day's boat than I did on most of them, other than our Alaska trip. And nothing has come close to the value of that Alaska trip. So at the end of the day, all the fish are iced there, and they're going to dump them out. You'll notice we had about 25 people on the boat, but there's only about 8 buckets here to collect fish at the end of the day. And that's because many of these represented groups that were on board. I think I was one of the only, if not the only, solo fisherman on the day. And even though I used their gear, which I really didn't care for, but it was still effective, and they provided it inclusive of the price. That's a heck of a deal. I still feel like I did pretty good. Came home with 4 fish. 3 of them were pretty good sized, and hey, made a couple of good meals. And remember the marks I told you, this is how they know where to put the fish. So bring your bucket, bring an ice cooler. They don't gut them, fillet them free of charge, but if you want them to fillet them, you can make a separate deal with the guys on board afterwards, and they will go ahead and fillet them, but they're not going to gut them or scale them.
Congratulations.
And Remember, these guys work for a tip. Hey, it was a great trip. Highly recommend it. As always, I am enjoying retirement, and thank you for watching.